I'm not clickbaiting you, and I'm pretty sure that Bungie isn't too happy that I found this gun in the deep corners of my vault while doing a little bit of cleanup the other day. After you see what this weapon can do, I think you'll agree with Bungie on this one. Don't worry, I won't be melting you in Trials or Iron Banner with this gun as it's unfortunately sunset, but if you see me in quick play with this weapon, you better run. This type of gun is so overpowered that Bungie confirmed they're not planning to bring back this weapon archetype anytime soon. Ever since sunsetting became a thing, many players have been missing their old favorite weapons. For some of these, I'm glad to see them gone as they were simply way too broken. After you watch this video, let me know in the comments, would you dare to rework this weapon and reintroduce it into the current Crucible? Let me explain to you what makes this weapon so incredibly powerful. It's not some crazy pinnacle perk, it doesn't have Magnificent Howl, it doesn't have Master of Arms, it doesn't break the ammo economy, and it's not even that it got some overpowered catalyst. It's actually been in the game ever since Forsaken got released, but not many people understood its extreme power with the right role. In hindsight, we might have been blinded a bit too much by shotguns to realize how quickly the submachine gun can melt our opponents, and I think it's about time that I showed you. Now, I know what you might be looking at, but first, let me divert your attention to this. You don't see adaptive frames too often these days. Take a look at the Multimach for example. It's one of the best non-sunset submachine guns in the game currently. It's also 900 RPM, but it's a lightweight, not adaptive. Lightweight frames are great because they give you a free movement speed boost, but in this case, I think there's actually an even better option. The adaptive frame is so much scarier than the lightweight frame because it deals much more body shot damage. If you land only body shots, you'll still get a kill time of only 0.93 seconds. For context, that's the same kill time as hitting all headshots with a 390 RPM pulse like the Bygones. And of course, if you land all headshots, this kill time will drop substantially. Unfortunately, the kill time on the adaptive submachine guns isn't quite as fast as that of the Multimach, but it's pretty close and it's still much faster than most of the other weapons in the game at just 0.73 seconds. If these numbers don't mean much to you, just remember that you can absolutely melt your opponents with an adaptive submachine gun even if you only land body shots. If you've been following the Destiny 2 meta trends, you probably know that the recipe to make a weapon incredibly busted is to give it great stats, a good kill time, and most of all, make it very forgiving. Looking at you, DMT. In the case of adaptive submachine guns, the forgiveness is so strong that a Bungie developer confirmed we probably won't be seeing any more of them in the future. The only currently available adaptive SMG is the exotic Risk Runner, which suffers a little bit in the range department. My Hero's Burden on the other hand has an absolutely crazy effective range of almost 25 meters. I have basically the same range stat as the max range Multimach, and I have the same 17 zoom stat thanks to the SPO57 front scope. But on this SMG, I don't need to take Iron Reach to hit the maximum range like the Multimach, so there's room for kill clip. This is going to give some extra damage after a kill. With kill clip active, the body shot time to kill drops to be pretty competitive with most of the optimal time to kills of other SMGs, and if you hit all headshots, they won't stand a chance. Finally, as the cherry on top, mine rolled with moving target for the extra aim assist and strafe speed on top of the already forgiving adaptive frame. And just to make sure that my opponents don't stand a chance on a duel, we have high caliber rounds to flinch them to the moon and back. If you want to try out a similar SMG for yourself, well, unfortunately you can't right now. Mine was basically a 5 out of 5 perfect roll from an Iron Banner drop that happened before Beyond Light. Judging by how many players are still chasing their 5 out of 5 Multimach, I doubt many players are going to have access to this specific roll. And after using this one for a while, I can't believe I didn't give this one a solid try much sooner. If you've been playing for a while, the next best thing is probably another SMG that you might have in your vault, the Kinetic Trackless Waste. It can get similar rolls and similar stats, and it also belongs to the adaptive 900 RPM family. It does lack a little bit of effective range compared to the Hero's Burden because the range stat can't go quite as high, but it's still a pretty good choice. Both of these SMGs are incredibly deadly assuming you don't need to reach the maximum power level. If you don't have either of these options, luckily there's a bunch of other excellent SMGs that are working really well in the meta right now and they're not sunset. We'll cover them in just a minute. As far as my loadout when using the Hero's Burden, I mostly paired it with the Chaperone Exotic Slug Shotgun to cover the extreme closer ranges, or Eye of Soul if I felt like sniping. As for my armor choice, the Dragon Shadow is a great pick to slightly mitigate the worst handling of the Hero's Burden, and it also activates Kill Clip instantly after a kill. If you didn't know, dodging with the Dragon's Shadow can activate damage perks like Kill Clip instead of a lengthy reload time. You can also still benefit from the superior animation of the Gambler's Dodge instead of the Marksman's Dodge while still getting that free reload. Aside from the crazy benefits the Dragon's Shadow provides after a dodge like increased handling and movement, it also buffs your reload speed, which is awesome because once you get another kill with a kill clip weapon, you can reload significantly faster to refresh the perk using the method that we talked about earlier. And if you run double utility kickstart on your class item, you can loop the Dragon Shadow buff basically forever. This greatly reduces your downtime between duels and lets you play more aggressively, which is an SMG's favorite way to be played. And following this idea of aggression, I would slot a couple of Charge with Light mods to help me slay out when facing multiple opponents. I'd use the usual Powerful Friends and Radiant Light combo for the extra stats and also to get myself and my team Charged with Light whenever I pop a super. I use the mod Quick Charge with this setup for two reasons. On the one hand, it gets me Charged with Light anytime I get a multi-kill with the Chaperone, which is pretty easy to do if we're being honest. On the other hand, it actually buffs the handling stat of both the Chaperone and the Hero's Burden thanks to the secondary effect. This way I almost have pre-nerf quick draw on both of my guns even if the Dragon Shadow perk isn't active. The next mod I slotted is Taking Charge to get Charged with Light anytime I pick up an Orb of Light. This might seem like a tall order, but the Hero's Burden is going to be melting enemies so fast that I'll be getting access to a lot of orbs anyway. And with all these stacks of Charged with Light, I'm using the mod High Energy Fire to convert them into a damage boost. Now, if you're not playing Hunter, you might not value that plus 20 mobility from Powerful Friends as much, and instead I would take a look at this setup on Titan with Peacekeepers. Obviously, High Energy Fire is going to be mandatory for the damage boost, and Taking Charge is pretty much a no-brainer. In this case, we're rocking Peacekeepers, so the handling from Quick Charge is actually kind of wasted. Instead, we're going to slot Swift Charge, which gives us Charge with Light on a multi-kill with the SMG. Now, you might think this would be overkill since we're using Taking Charge anyways, but if you're really smart about it, you can keep track of the Orbs of Light on the ground and only pick them up when you have room for another stack of Charge with Light. This way you'll be able to get that damage boost whenever you're ready for it. The next mod we're going to use is really underrated. That would be Charge Harvester. People get really scared of the -10 penalty to your class ability, but trust me, this is probably the easiest of all of the Charge with Light mods to proc. Just by staying alive and going on a short assist streak, you're going to get Charge with Light. Finally, the mod Stacks on Stacks will give us 2 stacks of Charge with Light instead of just 1 whenever any of our other mods gets us charged. This means we can melt 2 players with the extra damage, and if we happen to get Kill Clip to also stack on top of it, they're not going to stand a chance. Before I tell you about the other SMGs worth trying out, I want to thank the sponsor of this video. This one is for the guys out there, which conveniently is about 98% of you. And to the 5 ladies who watch my videos, this would be a great stocking stuffer present this year. This video is brought to you by Manscaped. They recently sent me their brand new Perfect Package 4.0 and I've honestly been really impressed by it. Manscaped created the world's first all-in-one men's grooming kit that has you covered from head to toe, quite literally. If you've ever tried any of those other trimmers out there, ouch, you know what can happen if you're not careful. Luckily, the Lawnmower 4.0 features their advanced skin-safe technology, which is going to help prevent those painful nicks in areas where you definitely don't want them. It's also waterproof and cordless and comes with a bright LED light so you can use it basically wherever you want. In the package, you'll also get their Crop Preserver deodorant and Crop Reviver toner spray, which both smell awesome and keep things fresh. And for a limited time, you'll also get 2 free gifts, a nice travel bag and some comfy new underwear. So go to manscaped.com and use my promo code Pattycakes to get 20% off along with these 2 free gifts and free international shipping. Thanks again to Manscaped for sponsoring the video, and now back to SMGs. If you'd like to try out either of these builds but you don't have this Hero's Burden, let me mention a few of the other options that my SMG expert friend CoolCheese recommended in a recent interview that I did with him. There's a couple of obvious picks like the Multimach and the Shayura's Wrath, and these are both awesome, but let's talk about a few others in case you're not so lucky in the Iron Banner or the Trials of Osiris. If you enjoy playing Gambit, then you might like... Wait a second, does anyone actually like playing Gambit? Well, if you do, or at least if you get lucky while you're doing your pinnacles, the Borrowed Time SMG from Gambit is actually pretty awesome. It comes with a very forgiving 750 RPM archetype, and it can get Rangefinder to push out that range all the way up to about 22 meters. Alternatively, let me tell you about the Extraordinary Rendition from Season of the Chosen. It's actually really easy to farm and it performs really well. If you don't have a good roll on any of these other SMGs, definitely try getting a max range roll on the Extraordinary Rendition. By the way, this particular roll I have is also amazing in momentum control because when you pick up special ammo, it also reloads to double your normal magazine size thanks to overflow, and then Rampage melts through enemies incredibly fast. While we're talking about the 750 RPM submachine guns, there's also the Iclos SMG with Seraph rounds. Even though this one only has 13 zoom, which is usually a bad thing, Seraph rounds keeps the effective range pretty high at about 20 meters. This means that you can benefit a little bit from the extra awareness from the lower field of view, while still not sacrificing a whole lot of range like you normally would on a 13 zoom SMG. If your exotic slot is free, you can dodge all of that RNG madness and simply buy the Teraba from the exotic kiosk. At base, it's still a great SMG, and when you get the perk rolling, you can absolutely delete people in the blink of an eye. Seriously, what were these people supposed to do? Let me know in the comments, what do you think about the Hero's Burden? In my opinion, it's kinda busted, but incredibly fun to use. I don't really want to be playing against the submachine gun anytime soon, and maybe it's a good thing that Bungie decided to remove the adaptive SMGs with sunsetting. I'm already terrified enough of really good players on a god roll Multimach, and I'm thoroughly enjoying my personal god roll on the Shayura's Wrath from Trials. If you like this video, let me know by subscribing and also leaving a thumbs up rating. I've got a lot more like this one on the way. Also, I recently started a Patreon account with some bonus content like map guides for Trials of Osiris, extra PvP tips, and some special access to channels in our community Discord server. It's a great way to support the channel directly. The link to join is patreon.com/pattycakesgg. And if you want to see more content about amazing sunset weapons, check out my recent video full of nostalgia where I reviewed 37 of the best guns in Destiny 2 history. It's the video on the top right of your screen and also linked in the description.